Does Python have private variables in classes? I'm coming from the Java world and reading Bruce Eccles' Python 3 patterns, recipes, and idioms. While reading about classes, it goes on to say that in Python there is no need to declare instance variables. You just use them in the constructor, and boom, they are there. So for example, if that's true, then any object of class simple can just change the value of variable s outside of the class. For example, in Java, we have been taught about public/private/protected variables. Those keywords make sense because at times you want variables in a class to which no one outside the class has access to. Why is that not required in Python?
It's cultural. In Python, you don't write to other classes' instance or class variables. In Java, nothing prevents you from doing the same if you really want to. After all, you can always edit the source of the class itself to achieve the same effect. Python drops that pretense of security and encourages programmers to be responsible. In practice, this works very nicely. If you want to emulate private variables for some reason, you can always use the underscore prefix from PEP8. Python mangles the names of variables like _foo so that they're not easily visible to code outside the namespace that contains them, although you can get around it if you're determined enough, just like you can get around Java's protections if you work at it. By the same convention, the underscore prefix means underscore variables should be used internally in the class or module only, even if you're not technically prevented from accessing it from somewhere else. You don't play around with another class's variables that look like _foo or _bar.
Private variables in Python is more or less a hack. The interpreter intentionally renames the variable. Now, if you try to access _bar outside the class definition, it will fail. But you can easily get away with this. You probably know that methods in UB are invoked like this: x.printvar equals greater than a.printvar x. If a.printvar can access some field in X, this field can also be accessed outside a.printvar. After all, functions are created for reusability, and there isn't any special power given to the statements inside. The game is different when there is a compiler involved. Privacy is a compiler level concept. It knows about the class definition with access control modifiers, so it can error out if the rules are not being followed at compile time.
As correctly mentioned by many of the comments above, let's not forget the main goal of access modifiers, to help users of code understand what is supposed to change and what is supposed not to. When you see a private field, you don't mess around with it. So it's mostly syntactic sugar, which is easily achieved in Python by the underscore and underscore. Python does not have any private variables like C++ or Java does. You could access any member variable at any time if wanted to. However, you don't need private variables in Python, because in Python it is not bad to expose your class's member variables. If you have the need to encapsulate a member variable, you can do this by using a property later on without breaking existing client code. In Python, the single __ is used to indicate that a method or variable is not considered as part of the public API of a class and that this part of the API could change between different versions. You can use these methods and variables, but your code could break if you use a newer version of this class. The double underscore underscore does not mean a private variable. You use it to define variables which are class local and which cannot be easily overridden by subclasses. It mangles the variable's name. For example, self._foobar's name is automatically mangled to self._a_foobar in class A. In class B it is mangled to self._b_foobar. So every subclass can define its own variable _foobar without overriding its parents' variables. But nothing prevents you from accessing variables beginning with double underscores. However, name mangling prevents you from calling this variables/methods incidentally. I strongly recommend you watch Raymond Hettinger's Python's Class Development Toolkit from PyCon 2013, which gives a good example why and how you should use a property and underscore instance variables. If you have exposed public variables and you have the need to encapsulate them, then you can use a property. Therefore, you can start with the simplest solution possible. You can leave member variables public unless you have a concrete reason to not do so. Here is an example.
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.